short training video is brought to you by the Cocopah Indian Tribe in conjunction with Indian Health Service, Office of Environmental Health and Engineering at Fort Yuma.
First and foremost, I believe public safety is probably the most important aspect of any pool operation.
The goal of this short video is to review critical violations to ensure that pool operators and facility operators are prepared for their upcoming inspections performed by Indian Health Service. We will review the new regulations set out by the CDC Model Aquatic Health Code. There's certain safety equipment and signs required throughout the aquatic facility, even if there's no lifeguards on duty. The pool rules must be complete and they should be posted in a conspicuous place. And the complete direction for what's included in the pool rules is available in the Model Aquatic Code. The spa has additional rules that should be posted near the spa. I'd like to talk about the critical violations that we come across many times with our pool operators. These are violations that would lead us to recommend pool closure. The first one is if the gates are self-closing and self-latching. So the gate must be able to be opened to 18 inches and then close by itself and latch by itself. The second one is to make sure that all your electrical components are protected. So that means we're protecting them from weather and we're protecting them from splash from the pool. It is also very important to make sure that your electrical systems are functioning properly so that the water does not become electrified. One of the things that we come across quite frequently is main drain covers either being out of compliance or having no paperwork showing that they have been replaced. So the main drains to the pool have to be in compliance with the Virginia Graham-Baker Act. This act states that the main drain covers should be anti-suction and that they have to be replaced by the expiration, which is usually 5 to 8 years after installation. So paperwork must be retained on site to show when the drain covers were installed. We also need the proper safety equipment. So here's one of the pieces of safety equipment that you should find at the pool. This is called the shepherd's crook. And it's at least a 12-foot pole with a hook on the end. What you would do if somebody is in trouble, this is for an untrained patron to help somebody in the pool. They would reach in, get the hook around their body, and try to pull them to the side. And that way, the untrained patron can stay safe, and hopefully they can save the person in trouble. Here's the second piece of equipment we'd want to find at any pool, even if there's lifeguards or no lifeguards, is the ring buoy. We want it to be easily accessible to the untrained person, so we don't want to have the rope tied around the actual buoy. We want it to be here in front so that we can easily take it off and also grab the ring buoy. When we look at the ring buoy, we want to make sure there's no rips and tears anywhere on here that would allow water to penetrate. We also want to look at the wording and make sure that it's U.S. Coast Guard approved. When you're throwing out the ring buoy, you want to have the buoy in one hand, the rope in the other. Your hand is flat, and you have 1 foot on the end of the rope so you don't lose it. You want to throw the ring buoy slightly past the person that you're trying to rescue. Let the rope extend out. Make sure you're leaning back with your body and you're pulling it in after they've grabbed onto the buoy. So now we're going to test the free chlorine. We also want to talk about the chemical concentrations. There are various tests that pool operators should perform, but there are 2 in which we would recommend closure if they were out of range. Your chlorine level should be a minimum, your free chlorine should be a minimum of 1 part per million in your pool and 3 parts per million in your spa. We have a maximum of 10 parts per million for either. Your pH should be at an optimal range, anywhere between 7.2 and 7.8 for both pool and spa. So when we go into the pump room, the things that we look for that are critical are whether your filtration equipment is working and your pumps are working. So the whole system should be functioning properly. You should have the right pressure on the filters and the right flow on your flow meter. All the piping should be labeled to indicate direction of flow. We also want to make sure that your chemicals are stored safely and separately if necessary, as well as labeled, and everybody is trained on how to use them and where the SDS sheets are.
It's very important that all supervisors, managers, what have you, are hands-on. Don't leave it to, don't assume that things are getting done. Be thorough, do your walkthroughs, look at the paperwork, ask questions, have a good working relationship with your workers so they're comfortable in giving you feedback. That's very important because you might miss something that they see. And it's very important that it's a team effort just to ensure that we all have a good time and all is well.
That training is an important part of health and safety. This is training that you can do in-house in your facility on an annual basis. You can also have weekly safety meetings, but just keeping everyone up to date on what chemicals are being used and how to use the equipment is the most important part of keeping your aquatic facility safe and healthy. But the most important thing is to make sure that all your staff are on the same page to keep your facility running smoothly. Let's do a quick recap. Here are the critical elements that you need to be aware of before your upcoming survey. Gates should be self-closing and self-latching. Aquatic venues should have an enclosure surrounding the entire facility. Main drains and suction outlets should have Virginia Graham-Baker compliant covers and should have up-to-date documentation. The water should be clear and the main drain should be visible. Appropriate safety equipment should be present and in good repair. Filters and recirculation equipment should be approved and in good repair. An automatic disinfectant feeder should be present. Free chlorine levels should be at least 1 part per million for a pool and at least 3 parts per million for a spa. pH levels should be at an optimal range of 7.2 to 7.8. Chemicals should always be labeled, stored safely, and have the appropriate safety data sheet. For additional resources, you can contact your local health department or your local IHS service unit and speak with a representative of the Office of Environmental Health and Engineering.